Hello, dear English learners. Welcome back to another empowering and truly practical episode 19 of your English listening and speaking practice here on the Best English podcast. I'm Sophia, your host, and I'm just so thrilled to have you here today, especially if you're an intermediate learner ready to take your English to the next level. Do you sometimes feel stuck at an intermediate plateau with your English? Perhaps you understand a lot, but speaking still feels a little stiff, or you wish your English sounded more natural, more like a native speaker? Maybe you're tired of sounding like a textbook and truly want to engage in conversations with genuine ease and authenticity. What if I told you that this episode 19 is designed specifically for intermediate English practice, helping you bridge that gap and start practicing English like a native? In this episode, right here with your Best English podcast, we're going to dive into the mindset and practical strategies that transform good English into great, natural English. This isn't just about vocabulary, it's about understanding the subtle nuances, rhythms, and real-life persistence that native speakers embody. If you're an intermediate learner ready to truly practice English like a native, unlock greater confidence, and make your English flow effortlessly, then this episode 19 is your ultimate guide. We're going to explore powerful real-life stories and immediately apply their lessons to your English journey, giving you actionable takeaways you can start using today. Our journey here on the Best English podcast is always centered on providing you with actionable skills and helping you build lasting habits for genuine fluency. All effective strategies require one crucial ingredient: persistence. The stories you're about to hear will powerfully illustrate why and how persistence, coupled with clever and consistent learning methods, is your secret weapon for achieving truly native-like fluency. So, are you ready to elevate your English practice and start sounding more like a native speaker? Let's start. Many incredible dreams, including the dream of confident, native-like English fluency, sometimes feel daunting, especially when you're moving beyond the basics. Our first story is about my friend Daniel, and it perfectly illustrates how taking that brave first step, even when you're an intermediate learner, is crucial for real growth. A few years ago, Daniel had a stable job in his hometown. He worked as a manager in a small company, and life was comfortable. However, one day, he received an unexpected offer, an opportunity to work for a bigger company in another city. The new job paid more, but it meant leaving his family, friends, and everything familiar. Daniel spent days thinking about what to do. He made a list of pros and cons. Staying in his hometown meant security, but moving meant growth and a better future. He talked to his wife, Emma, and they discussed everything carefully. She supported him no matter what, but she reminded him to think about what truly mattered to him. One evening, Daniel met his old school teacher, Mr. Smith, who gave him some advice. He said, "Sometimes the hardest choices lead to the best experiences. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone." These words stayed with Daniel, and after thinking long and hard, he decided to take the job. At first, life in the new city was challenging. The work was more demanding, and he missed his family. But over time, he adapted. He met new people, improved his skills, and after a few years, he got an even better position. Looking back, he realized that taking that step was the best decision he had ever made. Daniel's story teaches us that making big decisions, especially those that involve stepping outside our comfort zone, can be scary. But often, it's precisely these brave choices that lead to the most significant personal growth and incredible opportunities. For you, as an intermediate English learner, This applies directly. Sometimes the hardest step is simply starting to speak more freely or trying a new, more advanced practice method that feels a bit uncomfortable at first. That's how you truly move towards speaking like a native. Let me share another personal story that deeply resonates with Daniel's experience. A few years ago, I faced a very similar dilemma when I had to move to a new city for work. I had been living in the same place for a very long time, surrounded by a comforting network of friends and family. But the job I truly wanted, the one with the most potential for my career growth, was located in a completely different city. I had a tough decision to make: stay in my familiar environment or take the plunge and move. At first, I was incredibly excited about the new opportunity. It was a great job, and the company was offering me a fantastic chance to grow professionally. But then, as the move approached, I started to feel genuinely nervous. I had never lived far from my family before, and I wasn't entirely sure how I would adjust to life in a completely new place where I knew no one. The thought of starting over from scratch was both exhilarating and profoundly scary. Despite my fears, I decided to take the leap. The first few months were indeed difficult. I truly missed my friends, and everything about the new city felt unfamiliar and overwhelming. I remember one particularly frustrating day when I was at the grocery store, and I couldn't even find the bread section. It felt so strange and disorienting. But slowly, gradually, things began to get better. I started making new friends, discovered my favorite local cafes, and gradually became much more comfortable and confident in my new job. Looking back now, I'm truly glad I made that choice. It wasn't easy, there were definitely moments of struggle, but it taught me so much about myself and how strong and adaptable I can be, especially in challenging situations. Now, I feel much more confident about making big decisions because I've learned firsthand that sometimes you truly have to take risks to grow and to find your true potential. What about you? Have you ever moved to a new city or started something completely new and daunting, like a new job or a challenging course? How did you feel in the beginning? Do you think it was worth it in the end? Share your experiences. If you're still not sure about making a big decision in your life, whether it's related to English or anything else, that's perfectly okay. It's completely normal to feel unsure sometimes. But remember, sometimes the biggest opportunities for growth and success come from taking chances, from stepping into the unknown. It's all part of the journey towards becoming the best version of yourself, including your English-speaking self. Our next story reminds us that when you have a deep passion for something, it can give you the strength to overcome even the most significant obstacles, including the opinions of others. This is the story of my cousin, Michael, and it's a powerful lesson for those of you working to practice English like a native even when others might doubt your progress. Michael had always been incredibly passionate about cooking ever since he was a small child. He loved watching his mother prepare meals in the kitchen, mesmerized by the scents and sounds. He would stand beside her, eagerly asking questions about every ingredient, every spice, and every different cooking technique. By the time he was a teenager, he could cook better than most adults. Everyone in the family admired his talent, and his dishes were always the highlight of any gathering. But for Michael, cooking was more than just a hobby, it was a burning dream. As he grew older, he dreamed of becoming a professional chef, working in a bustling restaurant kitchen, creating culinary masterpieces. However, there was one significant problem. His father wanted him to follow a completely different career path. His father, Mr. Johnson, was a respected businessman. He strongly believed that a real career meant working in a traditional office, wearing a suit, and having a stable, predictable salary. Every time Michael cautiously mentioned his dream of becoming a chef, his father would shake his head and say firmly, "Cooking is fine for home, Michael, but it's not a serious career. You should study business and take over the family company." Michael felt truly torn between his intense passion and his father's firm expectations. He deeply respected his father, but he simply couldn't imagine spending his entire life doing something he didn't truly love. His mother, on the other hand, wholeheartedly supported his dreams. She lovingly told him, "You only have one life, Michael. If cooking truly makes you happy, you should go for it with all your heart." Then, one day, an opportunity arose that changed everything. A famous culinary school in another city was holding a prestigious cooking competition. The grand winner would receive a full scholarship to study at the school. It was a golden opportunity, a direct path to his dream. But there was a catch. Michael had never competed in a professional setting before. He was filled with self-doubt. What if he wasn't good enough? What if he disappointed his father even more? Despite his gnawing fears, Michael made the courageous decision to enter the competition. He spent weeks tirelessly practicing, perfecting his signature dishes, and learning intricate new techniques. He woke up early, stayed up late, determined to give his absolute best effort. When the competition day finally arrived, he was extremely nervous, his heart pounding in his chest. As he stepped into the bustling kitchen, he saw other competitors, some with years of professional experience. His hands trembled slightly as he began preparing his dish. The judges watched closely, moving from station to station, carefully tasting every dish and discussing the flavors and presentation with serious expressions. After what felt like an eternity, the results were announced. Michael held his breath, his whole body tense. When they called his name as the winner, he couldn't believe it. He had won! That evening, overflowing with emotion, he called his father to share the incredible news. There was a long silence on the phone. Then, to Michael's utter surprise, his father's voice, full of unexpected pride, said, "Michael, I may not have understood your passion before, but I see now that you are truly talented. If this is what you want, I support you completely." Michael packed his bags and moved to the new city to start culinary school. It wasn't easy. He had to work incredibly hard, adapt to a completely new environment, and face many demanding challenges. But in the end, every ounce of effort was worth it. Today, Michael is a highly successful professional chef, proudly running his own acclaimed restaurant. And guess who visits his restaurant often? His father, who is now his biggest and most enthusiastic supporter. This story teaches us an incredibly important lesson. Sometimes we have to believe in ourselves and our passions, even when others don't immediately understand or support us. Taking risks is scary, but if we don't follow our true passions, we might regret it later in life. For your English journey, this means trusting your own ability to practice English like a native, even if some days it feels impossible. Have you ever wanted to do something that felt risky or that others didn't approve of, but you were afraid to take the first step? Perhaps you wanted to learn a new skill, start a new job, or even move to a different place to pursue a dream. What is stopping you from going after it? Is it fear, uncertainty, or the opinions of others? Now, I want to share another story. One that's a bit different but equally powerful in demonstrating the incredible impact of persistence and strategic learning. It's about my friend Jack and his journey to English fluency. a journey from feeling stuck to truly being able to practice English like a native. Jack and I met during a language exchange program when we were both in college. At the time, Jack was studying law, and I was studying business. Jack was a very quiet person. He didn't speak much in class or during our breaks. And when we first started talking, I realized that his English wasn't as strong as some of the others in the group. He was at an intermediate level, but he wanted to push further. However, despite his quiet nature, Jack had big dreams. He wanted to work for a large international law firm, a highly competitive field. But there was one significant problem. His English skills were holding him back. His law courses were all in English, and he found it incredibly difficult to understand some of the complex legal terms and dense texts. Even though he was brilliant at the law itself, the language barrier kept him from fully expressing his knowledge and potential, making it hard to feel like he could practice English like a native in his field. One day, during a quiet conversation, Jack finally told me about his dream. "I want to work in a top law firm, Sophia," he said, his voice filled with uncertainty. "But I feel like my English will never be good enough for that. I don't know if I can do it." I could see the genuine uncertainty in his eyes, and I knew how much he wanted to succeed. His struggle reminded me of my own doubts when I considered moving to a new city. I said to him, "Jack, you've already taken the hardest step. You're in this program, you're improving every day, and most importantly, you truly believe in your dream. That unwavering belief is what will carry you through." Jack smiled faintly, but still looked unsure. "But, Sophia," he countered, "I don't feel confident when I have to speak in front of people or explain complicated things in English. What if I make a mistake? What if they don't understand me?" His words made me think. I knew that feeling of fear all too well, the fear of making mistakes in a language you're still learning. But I also knew, from my own experience, that mistakes are not failures. They are a completely normal and necessary part of the learning process, and they're how we truly grow. I told him, "Jack, every mistake you make is one step closer to where you want to be. Don't worry about being perfect. Just focus on improving a little bit every day. You'll get there, I promise." So, Jack took my advice to heart. Every single morning, he spent extra time reviewing legal terms and practicing his English speaking. He even started watching English TV shows related to law, specifically trying to pick up specialized vocabulary and phrases that could help him in his studies. Slowly but surely, Jack began to feel more confident, moving closer to his goal to practice English like a native. 1 year later, Jack had graduated and was ready to apply for jobs at prestigious law firms. He had built up immense confidence, and his English had improved significantly. He secured an internship at a well-known international firm, and just a few months after that, he was offered a full-time position. I was so incredibly proud of him when he told me the news. But more than that, I was proud of how far he had come. Jack had faced his deepest fears, worked incredibly hard, and never gave up on his dream. And today, he's working in the exact firm he always wanted to be in. When Jack shared his success story with me, he said, "Sophia, I never thought I could make it. I truly believed my English would always be a problem. But I learned that if you keep pushing yourself, consistently and strategically, you can achieve anything." This story shows us that even when we feel like we're not good enough, or that our dreams are too big, persistence and hard work, combined with smart, real-life learning strategies, can make all the difference. Jack didn't let his fear stop him. Instead, he faced it head-on, and now he's living his dream, truly able to practice English like a native in his professional life. What is one goal you've set for yourself that feels a little out of reach right now? Is it learning English, starting a new job, or even traveling to a new country? What's stopping you from going after it? Often, the biggest obstacle we face is our own fear. We fear making mistakes, fear not being good enough, or fear what others might think of us. But remember, we all start somewhere, and no one gets things perfect from the very beginning. The important thing is to keep going, one small step at a time. So, think about this. What small action can you take today that will bring you closer to your goal? Maybe it's learning a new word in English, speaking to someone in English, or even just writing down your dreams. Whatever it is, start today and know that with each step, you are getting closer to achieving what you've set out to do. When we step outside of our comfort zones, we learn, grow, and discover things about ourselves we never knew before. Jack didn't let his fears define him, and neither should you. Whatever your dream is, you have everything it takes to achieve it. It all starts with believing in yourself and taking that first step. Now, let's dive even deeper into the idea of pushing yourself and making progress, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. I want to share another personal story, this time about my own experience learning a new skill. It's an experience I think you, as an intermediate English learner, can definitely relate to as you work on your English skills. This is a story about how I learned to play the guitar. At first, I was completely clueless. I didn't know which string to press or how to properly hold the pick. I just knew I desperately wanted to learn because I loved the idea of being able to create music. But the very first time I picked up the guitar, my fingers felt stiff, clumsy, and absolutely nothing sounded right. It was so incredibly frustrating. Every time I strummed the strings, the sound was either too sharp, too flat, or just a painful noise. I genuinely felt like I was failing. There were moments when I thought, maybe I should just stop. This is too hard. I'll never get it. But then I remembered something incredibly important about learning anything new. It always takes time. It's not about being perfect right away. It's about improving slowly, step by step, celebrating every tiny bit of progress. I realized that if I truly wanted to get better, I couldn't give up. So I made a firm commitment to practice every single day, even if it was just for 10 minutes. In the beginning, those 10 minutes felt long, my fingers would hurt, and the songs I wanted to play still sounded terrible. But I kept going. I didn't focus on how bad I sounded. Instead, I celebrated small wins, like getting my first chord to sound clear or playing my first simple melody without any mistakes. As time went on, I noticed that my hands started moving more naturally. The pain in my fingers faded, and my confidence slowly grew. After a few months, I could play simple songs without thinking too much about it. It was still far from perfect, but I was improving, and that was enough to keep me motivated. Then, one day, I was sitting with my friends, and one of them handed me a guitar. They casually asked me to play something. And for the very first time, I felt genuinely comfortable doing it in front of others. I played a song I had been practicing for a while, and to my surprise, everyone enjoyed it. They said I sounded great, and I felt a huge wave of pride in myself. This experience taught me something incredibly important. Significant improvement doesn't happen overnight, but with persistence, you can achieve things you never thought possible. This story is a perfect reminder for anyone learning English. Especially for intermediate learners, it can feel hard to break through that plateau. You might make mistakes, and you may even feel like you're not improving quickly enough. But just like with learning the guitar, your progress will come. The key is to stay consistent, embrace the process, and celebrate the small victories along the way. If you can speak one sentence without hesitation, that's a victory. If you understand a new phrase in a conversation, that's progress. This consistent, intermediate English practice is how you'll move towards speaking like a native. Another great example comes from my friend Sarah, who learned to speak English fluently in just a few years. When she first started, she could barely form a sentence. She often felt embarrassed and frustrated. But she decided to take a different approach. Instead of focusing only on endless grammar rules or vocabulary lists, she started actively using English in real-life situations. This is key for intermediate learners who want to practice English like a native. Sarah joined an international online community of language learners, and every day she would engage in conversations with people from all over the world. Sometimes the conversations were awkward, and she would definitely make mistakes. But rather than feeling discouraged, she brilliantly used those mistakes as learning opportunities. There was one time when she was talking to a native speaker, and she said something completely wrong. She wanted to say, "I enjoy reading books," but instead she accidentally said, "I enjoy book read." It was a silly mistake, and she could feel her face turning red with embarrassment. But instead of letting it stop her, she actually laughed at herself. The person she was talking to didn't even notice the mistake. They just kindly continued the conversation. Later, when Sarah reflected on the situation, she realized that no one was judging her. The most important thing was that she had successfully communicated her idea. She didn't let one mistake stop her from speaking again. In fact, that moment made her more confident to continue practicing. Over time, her English improved dramatically. She started speaking more fluently, and before she knew it, she was having full, natural conversations with native speakers. She shared with me, "I made mistakes, I used the wrong word a couple of times, but no one cared. They were just happy that I was trying to communicate." In fact, one of the people I met complimented me on my effort and said, "Your English is great, and I really appreciate how you're making an effort to speak with me." That moment meant so much to me. It reminded me that language learning is a journey, and every step counts. No one is perfect, and the most important thing is to keep improving. Just like Sarah, you can improve by using English in your daily life and not being afraid of mistakes. Mistakes are not failures. They are valuable stepping stones to progress. Embrace them as part of your intermediate English practice journey to practice English like a native. Now, let's take a quick look at how you can make this journey of learning and improvement easier and integrate it into your daily life. It's all about setting small, achievable goals and consistently practicing in varied contexts. Essential for anyone doing intermediate English practice, aiming to practice English like a native. Setting small, achievable goals. Don't focus on becoming fluent overnight. Set realistic, bite-sized goals. For example, aim to have a short conversation with a friend in English for 5 minutes. Listen to an English podcast for 10 minutes a day. Write a few sentences in English every evening. When you set small goals, you'll feel a sense of achievement with each one, and that will keep you highly motivated. If you're ever feeling stuck, just remember that progress doesn't happen instantly. It's okay to take your time. The important thing is that you keep going, even if it feels difficult. If you make learning English a regular part of your routine, you'll soon see improvements that will truly amaze you. Remember, every step you take brings you closer to your goal. So, let's continue to move forward together. Stay motivated, keep practicing, And most importantly, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Keep learning and improving, and before you know it, your English skills will reach new heights. Integrating English into your routine. Living the language. It's easy to say, "I'll speak more in English," but what does that actually look like in practice? Here are some simple, practical, and powerful ways you can start using English every day. Speak with yourself in English. Yes, this might sound a little strange at first, but it works incredibly well. Try talking to yourself in English about your day, what you're doing, or what you plan to do. It doesn't matter if it's just a few sentences. The more you get used to producing English sounds and sentences, the easier it will be when you talk to others. Change your phone settings to English. This sounds incredibly simple, right? But it's profoundly effective. Every time you use your phone, you'll be surrounded by English. Whether you're checking notifications, browsing social media, or sending messages, everything will be in English. At first, this might feel a little confusing, but after a while, you'll start to recognize the words and phrases, and it's a fantastic way to learn new vocabulary in a natural, real-world context. Watch TV shows or movies in English. Pay close attention to how people speak. Try to repeat sentences out loud or imitate the way they speak. This helps you get used to the rhythm and pronunciation of the language. You can start with subtitles in your native language, then switch to English subtitles as you improve. For example, when I first watched a comedy show in English, I didn't understand all the jokes. But as I watched more episodes, I got used to the humor and the slang that was used. I started to enjoy the show more, and at the same time, I improved my understanding of informal English. This approach works well because it's engaging and it feels natural, which makes learning enjoyable. Listen to English music. Music is a fun and powerful tool for language learning. The rhythm and repetition in songs make it easier to remember new words and phrases. For example, when I first started listening to pop songs in English, I couldn't understand everything, but I noticed that certain words and lines would stick in my mind. I would listen to the same song over and over again, and eventually I could sing along. This not only helped me understand the words better, but also helped me improve my pronunciation. Songs can introduce you to colloquial expressions, slang, and even regional accents, and most importantly, they make listening practice enjoyable. Take notes in English. When you're writing, even if it's just a shopping list or notes for work or school, try to write in English as much as possible. This helps improve both your writing and your vocabulary in a practical context. Practicing with real-world content and contexts. It's one thing to learn English in a classroom, it's another to carry on a natural conversation. This is where real-life interactions and varied content become key. Listen to news reports and podcasts in English. Try to listen to news stories that you're already familiar with from your home country or topics you've read about before. This helps you understand the content without focusing too much on new vocabulary. News reports often use clear and concise language, making it easier for English learners to follow. For example, when I started listening to English news, I would listen to a familiar topic and pay attention to how the newscasters presented the information. Sometimes they would use more formal vocabulary, but I could follow along because I already knew the subject matter. Over time, I began to understand more complex reports, and my listening skills improved significantly. Watch interviews with different people. Whether it's a celebrity interview or a documentary-style conversation, interviews are a great way to hear natural, unscripted English. The speakers often share personal stories, which makes the conversation more engaging and real. Interviews often feature a range of vocabulary, from formal words to casual expressions, giving you the opportunity to learn both types of language. Engage in English discussions with others, even online. If you don't have a chance to speak to native speakers regularly, join online forums or social media groups where English is spoken. Platforms like Reddit, Discord, or Facebook have groups for English learners where you can discuss topics that interest you. This kind of real-world language use makes your learning process engaging and authentic. Sharpening your listening and speaking skills through active techniques. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. This is a huge part of improving your English. If you're afraid of making mistakes, it can stop you from speaking as much as you should, which will slow down your progress. This is especially true for intermediate English practice when you're trying to practice English like a native. Shadowing. This technique involves listening to someone speaking in English and then immediately repeating what they say, mimicking their pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm as closely as possible. This helps improve your speaking fluency and your ability to understand fast, natural speech. You can do this with podcasts, YouTube videos, or news broadcasts. For example, I used shadowing when I was learning how to improve my accent. I would listen to a short section of an audiobook, pause it, and then try to repeat the words exactly as the speaker said them. This technique helped me become more confident in my speaking abilities and made me more aware of my own accent and pronunciation. Active listening and responding. When you listen to podcasts or watch shows, try to repeat what you hear out loud. For example, if you hear someone say, "That's a great idea," pause the video and repeat the phrase. This helps you practice speaking and allows you to hear how the words are used in context. Role-playing is another fun and effective way to practice common phrases and build your confidence. You can choose a scenario like ordering food at a restaurant or asking for directions and practice it out loud. Using subtitles strategically. Many English learners use subtitles to help them understand what's being said. Start with English subtitles to connect spoken words with written words. Over time, you'll begin to recognize patterns and pick out words and phrases more easily. Listening to different accents. English is spoken all around the world, and every region has its own unique accent. American, British, Australian, etc. Listening to a variety of accents will help you get used to hearing English in different ways, making you more adaptable when it comes to understanding English speakers from various backgrounds. For example, when I first listened to an Australian accent, it felt like a whole new language. But after regularly listening to Australian English podcasts and watching Australian TV shows, I became more familiar with their accent and learned to understand their unique pronunciations. Now I can easily follow along with many accents. Slowing down. Audio. Most videos on YouTube or podcasts allow you to adjust the playback speed. If you're struggling to catch everything, slow down the speed, for example, to 0.75x. Once you get used to the slower pace, gradually increase it again to match the natural speed of native speakers. This trains your ear to recognize words and phrases at a faster pace. The importance of feedback and managing mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. This is a huge part of improving your English. If you're afraid of making mistakes, it can stop you from speaking as much as you should, which will slow down your progress. This is especially true for intermediate English practice when you're trying to practice English like a native. Embrace mistakes as learning opportunities. Every time you misunderstand a word or phrase, or use the wrong tense, use it as an opportunity to learn. My teacher once told me I was using the wrong verb tense in a story. I didn't realize it, but that feedback helped me understand and correct it. Seek and welcome feedback. When you're practicing with a teacher or a friend, listen carefully to the feedback they give you. It might feel uncomfortable at times, but remember they are there to help you improve. Record yourself speaking. It might feel strange at first, but recording yourself helps you identify areas where you can improve. Listen to your recordings to check your pronunciation and grammar. This is an excellent way to become more aware of your own language skills. Conclusion: you're mastering intermediate English and practicing like a native. Congratulations! In this episode 19, you've not only learned, but actively explored powerful strategies for intermediate English practice and how to truly practice English like a native in real-world conversations. This is a huge step forward in your fluency journey, equipping you with the confidence to initiate and maintain polite, natural interactions. We've systematically covered how real-life stories illustrate persistence, overcoming fear, and building confidence step by step. Practical strategies for daily English immersion, active listening, strategic speaking practice, and embracing feedback. Specific techniques for sharpening your listening comprehension and refining your pronunciation to sound more native. Remember what we've emphasized. Practicing consistently and daily is what will truly make these skills automatic, effortless, and second nature for you. Go back and use the techniques we've discussed: shadowing, listen and repeat, speaking to yourself, changing phone settings, watching varied content, getting feedback. Read these phrases aloud, copy my voice, and integrate them into your everyday self-talk, even your internal monologue. The more you use them, the more natural they'll become. Every single time you try, every time you speak a sentence using these natural patterns, your English gets stronger, smoother, and more authentic. You are actively building a robust foundation for fluent, confident, and genuinely enjoyable conversations. Keep going, and you'll soon be speaking English like you've always dreamed. Your call to action. Thank you so much for joining today's episode 19 of the Best English Podcast. I truly hope learning these fundamental English basics, combined with these powerful stories and strategies, has made you feel much more confident and prepared about connecting with others in English. If you found this episode helpful, practical, or inspiring, please do me a big favor. Hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps us reach more amazing learners like you across the globe and supports our mission to make English accessible and fun for everyone. And don't forget to subscribe to the Best English Podcast, wherever you're listening, whether on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. We release new episodes regularly, and staying consistent with us will naturally help you stay consistent with your English learning. Consistency is truly key to unlocking your success, and we're here to support you every step of the way. Do you have a friend, a family member, or a colleague who wants to master English basics and feel more confident in conversation? Perhaps someone who avoids speaking English because they feel unprepared or shy, or who feels like a robot when they talk. Please share this episode with them. Let's help more people feel comfortable, capable, and fluent in English. And I would really love to hear from you. After listening to this episode and practicing with me, which specific strategy or story resonated with you the most for your intermediate English practice? What's one new thing you'll try this week to practice English like a native? Let me know in the comments on YouTube or connect with us on social media. Your commitment inspires me, and your feedback helps us create even better lessons tailored for your needs. Remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep trying, keep going, and keep practicing. Take it one small, easy step at a time, and believe that every effort you make is actively building your way to speaking English easily and successfully. Keep believing in yourself. You can absolutely do this. Until next time, take good care of yourselves, keep working hard, and I look forward to you listening again very, very soon. You are doing great.